Hey everybody, this is Scott Mann, CEO and founder of the Stability Institute, where we broker knowledge and connect stability professionals on tough, complex problems all over the world. And I want to thank you for joining us on another one of our video episodes for our book reviews. And today I've got a good friend of mine, someone who I've taught with, someone who I'm a big fan of his work, and was actually introduced to him by Stephen Pressfield, who's on our board of advisors now and who has really rendered a lot of perspective and support on tribalism and clan society, and that is Patrick Van Horne, former Marine officer, saw a lot of combat in Iraq, has come home and transitioned back into civilian society, but like a lot of our warriors who come home, felt compelled to share some of the more salient points that he's learned in working in these rough places. And he wrote a book called Left of Bang. And he co-authored it with Major Riley, Jason Riley, and this book really, I'll let Pat tell you the details about it. But as an instructor at the Combat Hunter program in the Marine Corps, Pat has done a lot of work in going well beyond situational awareness and understanding your operational environment and what's going on around you to get left of bang and to try to do preemptive measures to keep from finding yourself in a kinetic strike. So the reason I wanted to do this book review, one, it's a fantastic book. It's very appropriate, not for special operations folks, for conventional folks, even for USAID and State Department and other civilians that are out there in these rough places where you find yourself at risk. I tell you, the work Pat has done on this book to inform your thinking on that, and some just good, common sense, holistic things that you can do, it's well worth your time. For my military brothers and sisters, it fits in a cargo pocket. That was the first thing that I noticed about it, which is awesome. But anyway, let's just jump right into it. First of all, Pat, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's really an honor to have you. I've enjoyed teaching with you, and I love the way that you teach the guys. And I guess I want to start with what led you to this book? What's the backstory on what drove you to write Left of Bang?
When I was first brought into the Combat Hunter program, the first time I sat through a class, I started thinking back to my deployments, and I realized that this class, these 2 weeks that the Marines were providing, was the link. It was what I was missing overseas, and I started to talk to Marines who had the training, deployed, and came back, and just saw the impact that I was having. Marines come back and they're look you in the face, say, hey, something we learned in this class saved my life. We realized that there's something off. We got out of there. I just wanted to come back and thank you for that. And just seeing the power that the course was providing, I just wanted to help get it out there to more people. We were only training about 40 to 50 Marines in a battalion deploying with 1,000, and I didn't think that was enough. And so the book was just one way that we could help get it out there to anyone heading overseas.
So how would you describe the book Left of Bang? What is it, elevator speech kind of stuff? What is it that the reader's going to get out of this book?
So everything is based off of really just the title, Left of Bang. And I know a lot of viewers are military, so they understand the concepts of Left of Bang. But if you just imagine a timeline, bang is whatever event you are trying to prevent from occurring. It's the attack, it's the assault, it's the IED going off. And so when we get left of bang, the sole focus is how we can prevent that attack from occurring, get earlier than that event on the timeline. And by noticing some of those pre-event indicators that exist before an attack, we don't have to wait to get shot at or wait to get blown up before we realize that, yep, there's something wrong here. Even just a split second of an advance warning allows us to regain the initiative, allows us to take charge of that situation. And that is really just the sole focus of the book. It's how can we prevent those attacks from occurring.
Yeah, and for those of you watching who are in the special operations community, you're familiar with the first special operations imperative, which is to know your operational environment. But, I don't think that's exclusive to special ops folks. This is, again, no matter what your charter or your mission, when you're working in areas that are undergoverned and at risk, frankly, even in areas of the United States, understanding your environment and being cognizant of that and dialed into that in this day and age is important stuff.
There's not many counterinsurgency manuals or text out there that don't talk about the need to understand the people, that the people are the way that we can either collect the intelligence we need on our enemy or sway them to understand what their needs are so we can get them to support us. But from what I found from my experiences, there wasn't a way to really look at the people in a way that the guy or the girl on the ground can use, observe, and make decisions, taking that information in right away. It's not just about understanding, solely what tribe they belong to or literacy rates or who that village elder is. That information is important, but doesn't necessarily inform what it is that we're looking for to identify that enemy. And as we start to talk about some of the behaviors in the book, by taking a look at something as complex as human behavior, we can really break it down to a set number of very quantifiable, very concrete observations that we can make, and really just to inform that awareness to make sure that the decisions we're making are intelligent, they're not random or uninformed.
Yeah, no, exactly right. And, for those of us that have to engage in indigenous cultures and things like that, understanding tribalism and clan society, for that type of engagement is important, but this is even at a more basic and visceral level of just enabling yourself to do those things safely.
Yes.
And that's really the so what here that I want to make sure that all of you take away from this is, what Pat has done here is really drilled into the mechanics of working in these environments and setting yourself up to do that. And whether you're a team of 3 or 1 or 12 or whatever, this is the kind of stuff that can posture you to do that kind of hard work.
Yeah.
So with that, let's jump in just a little bit. Before we started the interview, you were talking, and I've seen you teach this in class as well, the difference between situational awareness and the type of awareness that you promote in the book and in the model. Can you talk about that?
With the concept being that we are trying to recognize attackers before they actually launch their assault, one of the questions I ask students all the time is, when you say that you're going out there, you're looking for a threat, what exactly are you looking for? How do you know when someone is a threat? And when I ask that question, oftentimes people hesitate. They don't know, well, I'm just looking for a threat. They cannot define very specifically what it is that they're looking for. And so by going through some of these behaviors, we're trying to make that process of how we're looking at our area a little bit more concrete, something that we can master the process of, so that when you get overseas, you know what to look for and how to look for it. And when we talk about situational awareness, or really what informed awareness it is, it's really those two things: knowing what to look for and knowing how to look for it.
So let's dive into that a little bit. Let's kind of pull those two apart. Can you expound a little on first what to look for?
So we teach an overall process to observe. We go out, we establish a baseline. Once we know what's normal, then we begin to look for the anomaly, that thing that stands out from the baseline. And then once you identify the anomaly, you make a decision. The anomaly is that thing that you are looking for. It is the criminal, it's the attacker, it's the terrorist, it's the insurgent, whatever you're hunting for. It's when you recognize it, that's what's going to get you awards, that's what's going to get you recognition, because when you find it, you've now stopped that attack. The thing about being an anomaly, though, is that to stand out, you have to stand out from something. And while oftentimes a lot of training or a lot of concepts exist around how we identify that anomaly, one of the things that we found was there was a huge gap in teaching someone, here's how you establish the baseline, here's how you figure out what's normal in these areas. And so within that context, what a lot of our focus is on is how are we defining this baseline? How are we defining what's normal in these situations? And we teach really just a 3-question process for when we're establishing the baseline. What's going on here? Really just figuring out what's normal by taking a look at the behavior. Then we ask ourselves, what would make someone stand out? So we start to prepare ourselves if in this situation, let's say people are comfortable. All right, now we know that we're looking for people who are either uncomfortable or dominant or submissive. And then if we see that, what is the decision that we have thought through ahead of time? So if we see dominance, this is how we're going to respond. If we see discomfort, this is how we're going to respond. And by going through that process, we can really establish a very thorough and very comprehensive baseline, so that when you go on patrol, so that when you're in these situations, you're prepared. You've figured out what's normal, you've thought through it, and you're ready to take whatever action you need if something should arise.
Okay, so that's the what. Yep. Now how about the how?
And so we teach, there's really just 4 pillars of behavior, observable behavior, that we focus on. How we assess individual people, how we assess groups of people, how we assess people and really how they're interacting with their environment, and then how we assess the collective mood of everyone present. Those 4 really components, those pillars of observable behavior, are how we break down an area. So let's say you're looking at a marketplace. We can start off by taking a look at the collective mood. Does the area have positive atmospherics or negative atmospherics? Meaning, do people in this area, do they show that they feel safe and secure in this area, or do they show that there might be some sort of stressor or threat? Or is there a reason they are uncomfortable or anxious? by taking a look at that, and we can go through and really identify the sub-observations to make that assessment, then we can start to take a look at groups of people. To the way that groups of people, does it, way they're behaving, does it support these positive or negative atmospherics? Then we can go down to the individual level. Is anyone here, let's say, uncomfortable or comfortable? And is that something that we needed to take a look at? So by using these 4 different pillars, we can really define in very quantifiable terms what that baseline consists of.
You know, and I sat in your class not too long ago when you were working with the Marines, and I like the way you use the photographs from different parts of the world, and the audience is very involved very early on in picking out those indicators and those guys that are, you know, positive, negative, uncomfortable, that kind of thing.
The behaviors we teach are universal, so it's not just American behavior or, you know, Middle Eastern behavior. We're taking a look at how the body responds to perceptions of stress and perceptions of threats. These are uncontrollable and universal responses, the freeze, flight, or fight response. And so it doesn't have to be something that you only develop once you get into country. By using these pictures in class, for instance, from around the world, we can show that you can practice this here at home before you deploy. You can take your experiences while you're overseas and use it to further your understanding of this. And by using those pictures, students realize that, you know, they've been looking at people their entire life. None of the behaviors that we actually teach are anything new. You know, if you've been looking at people before, you've probably made some of these observations. Whether they were intentional or not is another conversation, but what we really provide is the terminology to explain, hey, when you look at this area and you say that, yeah, I've got a good feeling about that, what you're really saying is that as I look at the people, they have a sense of security or safety. They are behaving in a way where, you know, their behavior shows that I don't have to be worried in this. And so by going through, we provide this terminology and we provide the reasons why those observations are ones you can be confident in.
Okay, yeah, that makes perfect sense. And again, when the way that you provide this training, you're dialing the audience in, participatory in this from the outset.
Well, I think it's how people learn. I never have been one to, you know, just love sitting in a lecture and, you know, having an instructor just talk for 4 hours. My goal is really performance. I'm not speaking just to hear myself talk. I want to provide a very distinct capability to those operators, to those guys who are heading overseas. And so by doing that, by engaging the audience and putting pictures up and seeing how they assess them, after we provide that foundation, we can figure out who's got it and who needs a little bit more work, or what some of their, you know, preconceived notions were before the class, and we can start to refine that. So even if you've only sat in a class for 1 hour, there's something you can take away where when you go out to get a cup of coffee or when you go out to a restaurant later that night, there's observations you can make, you know, you can take from class and immediately apply. And that's really the goal, is to make sure that you have something that you can perform and that you can use. It's not just theory or concepts. It has to be something that improves the way you operate.
Awesome. So let's talk about a few of the ways that the guys can kind of learn more about this. First of all, obviously, is the book. I tell you, you know, you guys know me. I'm careful about the books that I recommend, and this is one that is definitely worth your time. It is a tool for every practitioner, whether you're in the security sector or not. It doesn't matter. It is a tool that can enhance your survivability in the rough places. And in this day and age, there's a lot of those. So how do they get the book?
They can either go to Amazon or they can come to our website at cp-journal.com/leftofbang, or just do a search for it on Amazon or Barnes & Noble. Pretty much any place you can buy a book online, you can find it.
Okay. Yeah. Now let's talk about training, because I've had several folks talk to me and ask me questions about getting this kind of training. There's different levels of the training. There's online training, and then there's you coming to the folks. So can you talk about each one of those and how the guys can pursue that?
Where they do training is really, it's based off of how they learn.
Yeah.
Personally, I like online training because I like being able to rewind videos and rewatch something, and if the instructor says something, I want to be able to pause the video and take a note and not lose or miss something else that they're saying while I'm writing that down. For other people, online training is just doesn't work for them. They want to be in person. They want to be sitting there. And so we offer both. So the tactical analysis program, which takes all the concepts here in the book and tailors their focus to the military, law enforcement, security professionals. It's based off of these 3 different levels of starting off by just learning how to make some basic observations with the goal of recognizing threats. The level 2 class takes these observations and provides it really the purpose of how are you establishing a baseline. So if you go to a country you've never been to before, you step off out of the embassy and you're in an area that we haven't been deploying to on a regular basis, so you're trying to essentially, start from ground zero. Here's how you look at that marketplace, here's how you look at those meetings, the area, and really establish a baseline very, very quickly. And then the level 3 class takes these and applies it to how you have conversations so that you can either be collecting a higher quality of intelligence, understanding when you might be getting lied to, and how you can use some of these techniques and use some of these behaviors to find the truth so you can get that information you need to make an intelligent decision.
Okay, and then how about bringing you to the folks?
All they have to do is just reach out to me through the website. It's the easiest way. There's just a contact form, contact page right there, and just a matter of a phone call to figure out dates. And I love working with, the community that you have on your site is my ideal audience. They're engaged, they're interested, they understand that there are better ways to do things and always something to learn, which makes, at least from the perspective of an instructor, a very enjoyable time.
No, it does. Yeah, it does. And all of our members recognize that we're all students. The day that you quit learning is the day that you probably ought to find a new line of work.
And that's one of the, sometimes people ask, what are some of the challenges? And there's really two groups of people that find it difficult to use some of these behaviors. One of them is the people who think they've got it already. And as soon as you say that, I've got this, as soon as you decide to stop learning.
Tactical arrogance gets you every time.
You stop investigating and you stop looking at people. Even if you have like a go-to observation, you read one thing in the book and if that's not there and you've stopped looking for other indicators, you're going to be out of luck. And so just being in front of those audiences where they like to learn and they're always investigating, they always want to know a little bit more and figure out the next little tweak to improve their trade craft. It's enjoyable.
One thing you would tell our viewers going out of this video, one thing to think about to stay left of bang, what would you tell them?
Just keep asking yourself 3 questions every place you go. It's what's going on here, what would make someone stand out, and what would you do about it? We, outside of just the military and police, we work with schools on school safety. We work with businesses for either sales presentations and interviewing and customer service. And those 3 questions, what's going on here, what would make someone stand out, and what are you going to do about it, that applies in any situation. So whether you're negotiating with a village elder overseas or a business person here in the States, you can start to just plan out your presentation, know that what you're looking for, and whether it's a shopping mall or a movie theater or a grocery store, just constantly ask yourself those questions, and you'll naturally start looking for the behaviors that are out there. You'll naturally start looking for those cues that will let you know, hey, there's something going on here, I need to get out of here, or I need to tell someone, or I need to stop this before it happens.
Well, Patrick, this is awesome, man. I appreciate you taking the time to sit down with us. Again, for all of you, the book is Left of Bang. Highly recommend it. It's definitely going on the Stability Institute reading list. If you have any questions and you can't reach Patrick, please contact us at the Institute. We're very connected with him, and I'm sure we'll be doing some more work together, and maybe even posting some more of your stuff and more of your content on the website, just to drive guys there and help them get informed on that.
I'm a big fan of your mission and your work, and if there's any way that I can help, all you have to do is ask. I'll be more than happy to do anything I can.
All right, buddy.
For your subscribers.
All right. Well, glad you're here. Thanks, Patrick. And thanks to all of you for watching another one of our episodes at the Stability Institute. Until next time, this is Scott Mann, CEO and founder, and thanks for watching.